appreciate everyone's attendance tonight for Tri-Township School Corporation meeting, and we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board members have received the minutes from March 18, 2021, and I ask for a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 18th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
On personnel items tonight, we just have two. Preston Frame, resignation for head boys basketball coach.
Do we have a motion by the board?
I'll make a motion to accept Preston Frame's resignation for boys basketball coach.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
And then we have on here David Prokop for a teaching position and to fill the boys head basketball coaching position. And he is in attendance. I'd like to introduce him. David Prokop. And David, if you will, please introduce your wife.
Yeah, this is my wife, Carly Prokop. She's also a teacher over in the Portage area.
Yep. So David, want to come down and be able to meet you guys?
Welcome.
Welcome to the team.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to approve David Prokop for the teaching position for the boys.
Second.
Okay.
Who got it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Next line item this evening will be the claim docket.
Make a motion to approve the claim docket.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Next item for the board's information is the balance sheet. If there are no questions by the board, we'll move on to the public comments on the agenda. Are there any public comments this evening?
I got two. Let's start out with number 12. How many times we've been working on these roofs and how come we always got to come back to have roof repairs? That's what you're going to do, is what building this time?
We're going to get a presentation tonight from Trimco, who has done the last little bit of work for us in the last few months. And the presentation tonight is going to be centered on giving the board an option of just an ongoing maintenance relationship is kind of what we're looking at.
Okay.
Say that well, Todd?
Perfect.
Okay.
And the next one is, I read in the paper, you guys are going to get over $400,000 for technical support from the state.
That's the ESSER 3 money. And yeah, it's $408,000.
It's going to be used mostly for what?
for, mainly to mitigate learning loss due to the rough year everybody's had recently. That's a very large portion of it.
So what does that entail?
We'll talk about that some, summer school, after-school remediation, tutoring, extra resources throughout the school year.
And then the
Could
last
be
one,
curriculum.
the last one was with the town hall meeting. There was more discussed there than we had been discussed here, but I want to know where you're going to eliminate 80% of your maintenance and things by moving the school, the whole high school up here. I think it was a comment that was made by somebody at the meeting.
Okay.
It was potentially 80% savings on utilities cost for water, not 80% of overall cost.
For water, yeah, I didn't see the water part.
That water was the only thing mentioned as far as the savings on utilities.
Okay,
And also, I guess I take that back, that potentially the utilities as far as NIPS go. Because the school would be run all day long, it wouldn't be occupied.
well, you're not going to leave the school go without any heating all winter long, are you? If you move up here?
Not until we,
No.
no, it'll be heated, it'll be taken care of until we figure out what the plan for it is.
But
Okay.
the temperatures wouldn't be the same as it would be if it were occupied by students.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't have to be that hot.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Any additional public comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, question on the mowing contract, is that ever bidded out?
We're getting to that, aren't
I don't know, I wasn't here. If there was a bidding process years ago, but the relationship's been maintained since then.
How many mowers does the school have?
We own two mowers.
2 mowers. Are they both are they used one in LaCrosse, one in Wanatah, or is it?
No, they're both housed here currently.
Okay, so they're both for using at Wanatah School. Does this contract include the school providing a mower at LaCrosse?
I'll tell you what, if you've got a list of questions, you get them to me.
There's only a couple, just I think 2 more.
I'll be happy to give an answer to you within 3 business days.
Okay.
So if you want to email those, would be the best way to go about doing it.
Would we be able to get a copy of the contract if there's one approved tonight, would we be able to get a copy of it?
See me afterwards.
Okay.
If there are no other public comments, we'll move on to the next line item of 112 addition plan choice.
So, school board, you along with the technical review committee have had a couple presentations from Performance Services. And we've narrowed down to where we have two options remaining. And we've talked those through. And the purpose for this item tonight is we need to get to a decision phase on the location so that we can start the process, let Performance Services dive in and get going on the phase 1 study. We all, in the last couple weeks, we've all heard the same bit of information. I would offer to you my recommendation based on the cost difference between the 2 locations. And the locations we're looking at here for the public is an option on the west side, about in the middle of the building, and an option of building out the north end of the building. And as we know, the biggest difference and sticking point is where the road and the utilities come in. And you have the price proposals and some schematics here, drawings. And what we know is there's a difference between the 2 options of roughly $400,000. So it would be my recommendation to you, and I would submit that the west option would be the best but not only financially, but also from a programming standpoint. As much as Brian and Chris have talked this through, it gives us flexibility, it gives us options, but ultimately that's your decision on which one of those two final options we decide to go with. So I would be looking for a choice made and approval to present that information to Performance Services, probably when the meeting's done tonight, so that we can get moving.
You don't need a motion for an approval at this point, you mean, or?
Yes, I would be looking for approval.
Okay.
So my question is, are we choosing the west side or the north end?
I choose the west side.
Because of the efficiencies and cost that you talked about, because the layout just was a little more cleaner, a little more conducive to classrooms and lower expense. I feel like the west one is the direction to go.
Future expansion too is more conducive, I think, to the west side than it is to the north side. The problem with the north side too is, you know, any future expansion, we're still going to end up having the school close to the road. For me, that's a negative. You know,
That's a very good point.
Comments?
Can I see a copy of that, if you're talking about going to the west side? So we leave?
To the other board members' points, I think by just looking at the plan itself, the programming, and then the potential impact, by the
This box,
impact
this
on the
big
town of
box is
Wanatah,
future
and just
expansion.
for the safety of the children, I think the west side makes the most sense for the, economically, the most sense for the going
It's
forward.
gonna be on the south
yeah,
side.
I would agree with that.
I think it's good too, we won't have to move that road right now. That's expensive.
All over here, right? Yeah.
Okay. That's all I want to see.
You bet. Thank you. Yeah.
At this time, do I have a motion by the board for the approval of the addition choice?
I'll make a motion.
to move forward with the west edition.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion so approved.
Okay. If you would, who made the motion?
Aaron, I seconded it.
Thank you. All right. Item number 8 is the mowing contract for LaCrosse, for rust mowing, and we're looking for approval for that. And that contract is in your packet for all to see, and then I would need a copy of that, one copy signed by President, Secretary, and Mr. Rust as contractor. So obviously with Mr. Rust abstaining,
I'll make a motion to approve the mowing service agreement.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
takes us to number 9 on the packet, which is an extension of the board disclosures. And quite frankly, board, I was of the mindset that you filled those out at the onset of your term, and that was, unless there were changes, that it was a one and done. Our counsel, Monica Conrad, has informed me that that needs to be a yearly thing added to our January board to-do list, so that's what we'll do going forward. But you'll each need to have those filled out and submitted from your packet tonight when we're done.
So this, along with the mowing contract, are just extensions of the policies that are already in place?
Correct. And they date from 2015 on the mowing contract and 2017 on the disclosures. So these are just an extension of that. And, you know, that's my fault for not having that in our packet. And it will be there in the January to-do list going forward.
Mhm.
Do I have a motion by the board for the bidder policy?
I'll make a motion to accept the bidding policy, responsible bidder policy.
I'll
Uh,
second that
Hold
motion.
on, we're still on 9, which is the board disclosures.
Oh, disclosure, I apologize.
Yep, that's all right. Yeah, I don't want to mix the two. So this would be an approval for the disclosure forms as an extension and continuing forward, and to approve me essentially making sure they're in the January
Gotcha.
to-do packet from now on. So Chad made
Yeah,
that
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
And what we started to get into there was the responsible bidder policy. And this would be our second reading and looking for approval tonight. I will remind the board that we had some attendance from public, some union representatives who had requested some language changes after Monica Conrad, school attorney, spent weeks going over that. She has made those changes and updated that. So that's what's before you tonight. That's the only change from your first reading. And I'm certain you're all aware of that small language change in there. So looking for approval for that policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the Responsible Bidders Act.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
11, I put on just a revisit to last month's presentation from Jacob Kiszkowski, our technology director, to basically keep it on your radar screens. At the same time, see if you had any questions or follow-ups. If you need more information, we can provide that. If you'd like for Jacob to come back again in May and follow up again with the board, we can arrange that. So, thoughts on that?
I felt like he did a good job of researching it and explaining it to us, unless there's something that comes up different, I feel like,
And we have time. That's why we got that front loaded, so we have time to do, necessary research and cross-check that, and Tim's helping with that some on his end through his tech department on my behalf. So we make sure that what the information we're getting is in the right scope of things.
And my comment to the board on that is he did a great job. We're doing his research, but I just want to make sure that as fast as technology is changing in advance, that we're investing the right amount of time, making sure that it's something that will last as long as the last servers and upgrades and all the things did. So just making sure that what we're doing now doesn't have to replace in 2 years or 3 years, that actually we get as much life out of it as possible. So I know he's put a lot of time into it. He's very intuitive on what the needs might be, but I would just want to make sure we're investing enough and make sure we're maximizing everything and without getting the benefit of all the networking and everything that we need.
Good. So I'll touch base back with Jacob, and we'll continue to work on that and make sure we're heading down the right path on that. And again, if we want to hear a little follow-up from him in May, we can do that as well. So that takes us to 12, and I've got Todd Linkleiter here tonight representing Trimco, and he's going to have a presentation for us. So board, at this time, I'm going to have you, if we can occupy those chairs or those towards the end, and just look down a little bit, because he's going to have the screen.
Hopefully, right? I have a flash drive too.
Yeah, it's two, but that's cool. That's good. The first one's an introduction, so we're good. I'll get that there. Sit off to the side so we can look at it. Todd Linklater, like Mr. Shepherd said, I've been working with him for the last year, evaluating the roofs here and then over at LaCrosse as well. I live in Crown Point, so not too far. Our corporate, Tremco, is we're the manufacturer of all roofing products from A to Z. We're based out of Beechwood, Ohio. You can go to the next one there for me. We're part of a building envelope solution company called RPM. It's a $6 billion company. Our vertical there, you see with Tremco, we have a seals division. I work for the building, roofing and building maintenance division. But we all work in coordination together. You see the WTI there, that's our technical arm of our group that services all of our warranties, but also can do patch and repair and different restoration solutions as well. We don't do full tear-off and replacements with that group because our bench isn't deep enough. All right, so we can do restoration solutions with that too, kind of a turnkey solution as well. Like I said, based out of Beechwood, and obviously on the consumer side, you've heard of Rust-Oleum, that, Zinsser, we're all part of that same building envelope solution. All right, next slide. That's our baby over the last 3 years. Maintain, restore, and sustain, that's what we look at. All right, we're big into sustainability. You see all those dumpsters there? If they were to tear off and replace that roof at Ford Field, it would have took that many dumpsters. The contractor there that was the union contractor for in Detroit, that was their suite contractor, came in and said, you guys need to tear off this whole roof. And we said, we were doing the preventative maintenance there, our WTI group, and they said, wait a second, have you guys scanned this roof? And they said, no, what do you mean? We got to scan it to see how much we can save. We might be able to save some of this roof. So we scanned it after the contractor told them they'd have to replace it for about a $6 million price tag, a 3-year project that they were going to do. We came in, scanned it, there was only 7% of the insulation that was wet underneath. It's all about what's underneath, right? As long as the integrity of the membrane is good on top, we have to make sure what's underneath if we can save some things. So we found only 7% was wet. We came in with the solution that we got to cut the wet out. We've got to keep that building healthy. We can't keep the wet in. We cut out the wet, stripped in the new membrane, built up the new insulation, and then we did our fluid applied restoration over the top membrane. We came in just under $4 million. All right, so what do I mean by that? It's about your ROI, not ROI, or the contractor's ROI. All right, we're looking at your budget. What's the best quality solution with the best budget? So that's what we did there. And then who pays for those dumpsters, right? You guys. So the client pays for the dumpsters, not the contractor. So part of that restoration, we used 12 of those dumpsters versus 150 of those dumpsters. Huge difference. And we're able to deliver the same warranty, a 25-year warranty in this case. Next slide, please. So that just sums it up. Your traditional approach is, okay, over time, we have to tear off a roof. That old school mentality is, once we're out of warranty or the service life of that roof is done, we're going to go and tear off and replace. When we're a little bit different, we look at it, we want to get ahead of it. If we have an opportunity to restore it, let's restore it at about 30 to 50% less than it would cost to totally replace it. All right, so we look at it a little bit different. That doesn't always jive with the contractor because it doesn't fit their ROI all the time, right? So that's how we travel a little bit different from the manufacturer standpoint. One, because we sell everything. We're agnostic. All right, we want to fit a solution that fits your budget, not fit you into our solution. There's a big difference there. Next slide, please, Chris. Thank you. All right, so obviously through the last year, working with Mr. Shepherd here, we evaluated all the roofs, and we look at those roofs as a maintain the good. Those are your green roofs, and you have a couple here that are were put in 2014 and 2016. The 2 single-ply roofs that you have here that don't have rock on them, and I'll explain that. And then you have to restore the marginal, and then you have to replace the failed. The good news is you don't have any failed roofs across your 2 schools. We have some roofs that are in the marginal phase, and we'll talk about that. Next, please. And then obviously our big key is, a gentleman over here talked about maintenance on roofs. So we always want to spend smart money. So if we want to spend smart money, we got to lead with diagnostics. Because diagnostics will show you where the wet insulation is. Because if you know where that's at, that's where your leak's coming from. Especially when you have metal decks. Because they can run on the metal deck, you don't know where it's coming in. But if you know where the wet insulation is, you can find that. So we like to lead with that. Next, please. So here at Wanatah Public School, where we're at right now, go ahead. There's an overview. Your roof 8, your roof 7 are your newer roofs that I've already talked about. Those are just the single ply roofs. All the other roofs you have here have rock on it. It's single ply, it has the black membrane just like 7 and 8, but it's ballasted, so it's held down with rock. The other way you can hold the roof down is through mechanically attaching it or fully adhering it. All right, in this case, we have a lot of rock that you paid for, 40 years ago. In some cases, more like 50 years ago. So you guys, in my opinion, and we'll talk about this, you guys are on borrowed time when it comes to your roof, but there's a lot of positive to it too. It's kind of an anomaly that you have these roofs and you have no wet insulation. That was the best news because now you save about $250,000 not having to replace the insulation, because that's about $5 per square foot. So that's one of the things we did, and we'll go through that next, please. So you have those 6 ballasted, 2 fully adhered. We already talked about that. So all the ballasted, you're at 51,000, just over the top, just over that. The other ones are in good condition, the other 2, right? When we talked about the other 6 that are in that fair condition, then we want to start attacking those sooner rather than later. Right? Next, please. So that just lays it all out, same thing. Just as far as the number of roof sections are all in fair. Next, please. So there's the scan that we did. If there was any wet, it would show it in red. All right, as far as our diagnostics that we did, our guys get up on the roof, did diagnostics, went all the way into the roof to find out if there's any wet insulation. So it came back 100% dry. All right, next please. That's the intel on the roof and the core of each. You got about 3 inches of ISO to get you that R value of right about 1820. And that's where you want to be in your R value. All right? When you do a restoration, you don't have to go back to code if you leave it in, right? So code might change over time. We always recommend to try to get to code, but it's also a financial thing. It's a financial, like here in this situation, because all the insulation is wet, if we start replacing some of those roofs, we might want to add a little bit of insulation. But let's not dive into the weeds tonight, but that's something a discussion that we'll have. So there's all the intel. And then, so with that being said, after we were done doing the roof walk, after the scan, we did a roof walk with Scott to find out, because you guys were still having leaks here. Lo and behold, all the leaks were coming around units, and were coming around the transitions and expansion joints. All right, so it wasn't getting into the insulation, but they're finding their way through units, because over time what happens with the rubber roof, they shrink. And it's called tenting and pulling, and it tents and pulls at units and at walls, because it shrinks over time. So that's what's happening, and that's why the leaks are happening at those transitions. So we walked that, so go ahead and we'll show you. Actually, I'm sorry. So there at the bottom there, like I talked about, $5 per square foot, $250,000 savings to get to that 20 R value. All right, usually about 5.7 R value per inch of ISO that you have in there. Okay, and that all makes sense? All right, next slide. So there's the points of infiltration when we walked with Scott over the history over the last few months. So we just marked those out, and I know me and Kelly had talked. He does have a proposal in hand to address those, but at the same time, we're looking to possibly, sooner rather than later, start replacing some of these roofs. So we want to spend some more money, right? So at the end of the day, we don't want to just spend money to spend money. If we're going to replace 2 or parts of 2, it doesn't make sense to spend all this money where you just have minor leaks. So that's what we're weighing out right now. So there's the reported leak areas that we found. As you can see, every single one's around units or at transitions on walls. Okay, next please. That's just some pictures showing you the tenting coming off the wall there and around units. You see it ramp. It shouldn't be rampant like that. It should be pretty clean. But over time, like I said, it starts pulling and tenting because that rubber shrinks over time. Over 30, 40 years, you're going to get some shrinkage. It's amazing that it hasn't shrunk more than it has. Like I said, big man upstairs must be on your side here or something. Next one, please. So partial replacement, meaning we're going to maintain the ballast, right? You already paid for it. I know ballast can be a pain in the butt to find leaks, but you already paid for it some 40 years ago versus paying for fully adhered or mechanically attached. We're going to maintain the ballast if we choose, but we're also going to maintain the insulation, right? That's what these numbers are based on. So at $6 per square foot, you're going to be able to get 20-year warranty on a new single ply roof on there. or you can go for a replacement. If we didn't do the diagnostics, you know, you're looking at $11 per square foot. See how the $5 per square foot that you're saving, right? So big difference. So the diagnostics, I think it was like right at $5,000. We know we can save about $255,000. So money well spent. Money well spent. Next please. So there's a budget based upon each roof, because we're not going to go in and change. We don't need to go in. We're not on a 5-alarm fire. We don't need to go in and change out every roof next summer or this fall or whatever we're going to do. So I have that budgeted out so you guys can see, and you can slowly start replacing the section at a time. Make sense? So there's the budget numbers there. I would say that the main one is like 68, a big part of roof 2, especially in the middle sections from 68. That's probably the one that I would probably like to attack first, but it's the biggest one too, but we can also put in the divider so we can divide 2 and do it in phases as well. All right, not an expansion joint, but a divider that we can just do phases with that. So 2, 4, and 5 are the main ones that had the most tenting and pulling and had the most leak points. So that's why those are bolded. I would recommend that we start in that order, because that's one of the things that me and Kelly had talked about. That let's decide the budget. What type of order should we be in here to make sure we attack the worst ones first? So that's the kind of the layout there. And then any questions on that? I'll take field any questions on that first part, but we're going to dive into the gym roof over at LaCrosse here in a second. But I just want to make sure before I transition. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, we'll move pretty quick here. So one is your gym roof, the barrel roof. Barrel roof meaning it's like this and has 2 ends on each side. So my history with that is we've had some leaks just at the base of each barrel on each side, on the east-west side, and we pretty much took care of those. I don't think we've had any leaks since. Am I right saying that, Brian? Good. I didn't ask you before tonight. Next one, please. So you have 5 roofs fully adhered, EPDM roofs. They're not ballasted, they're fully adhered. Like I thought, that's the way they're attached. And 11,835 square feet. Go ahead, next one. And all of them are in good condition except for the gym roof. It's the oldest roof. It's like 20, 25 years old based upon our knowledge and based upon Scott's knowledge. Now it's us being that just looking at it, we put in that category a 20, 25-year roof, and I think Scott said the same thing, it's in that category. So it's in fair condition, needs some TLC, without question. So, next please. There's just some overviews of that roof. As you can see, the discolorization and the seams are starting to lose some adherence. We said it was fully adhered, right? So the seams are fully adhered over time. All the chemicals in the air and the dirt and the dust start eating away at those seams. And when those seams start going and patches start going, that's when you could say, okay, we need to start doing something here. So there's just an overview. 8,350 square feet is that gym roof. Go ahead. There's just a few more. As you can see the seam starting to eat away at it a little bit. Go ahead. And that's me. That's on the base. And a lot of water was getting in those patches. And that's one place. That's the one place we repaired. That was a really small repair that we had there. But those 2 bases, you can see the water just sits. So our recommendation is to scan that roof to see if there's any wet insulation and to see if there's an opportunity to restore it versus tearing off and replacing that roof. All right? Restoring meaning with our fluid applied restoration that goes over the top of that. Typically, usually anywhere from like your single plies that you have on here are 60 mil. It's like a penny thick. So what we do with the fluid apply would be more like a 60 to 80 mil depending on the warranty we want to deliver. Again, don't want to dive into the weeds tonight, but just kind of give you a view of where we're going, where we're at now and where we're headed. So we're recommending to scan it. That number's wrong. Talk to our, I thought it was a little bit high. There's a threshold for our diagnostics team to be able to come out and travel and do it. They said we do a ton in Chicago and in your area, and he gave me a price of $1,800, so I could deliver that to you instead of $2,600 because we're always over here, and it only take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to scan that, but the equipment that we got to get up on the roof as well. So that number's wrong. Okay, I'll deliver the other. So, but usually typically restoration 30 to 50% less. Next page. And there's kind of a breakdown. Just a budget number. And you're looking at, there's just averages, our range for restoration, anywhere from like $7 to $12. And then obviously from a tear off and replace standpoint, especially if you're doing union, you're looking at $20 per square foot, essentially. So you see the savings, it's always about, making sure we give you the opportunity. We're agnostic, we can do both, and we can deliver both because we sell the membranes, right? But at the end of the day, it's about making sure when you have multiple assets, you want to be cost effective. Okay, next please. And you go quick here, so why restoration? Long-term warranties. 10 years ago, we couldn't match warranties for a new roof. Usually it was like 10 or 12 we can give. Now with the technology that we have with our fluid applied, we can match warranties 20, 25 years, right? It's a math problem, right? It always comes down to a math problem. Our polyurethane coatings have increased as far as R&D, so now we can match those warranties. You lose about 1 mil per year on like a 60 mil system, right? So you do the math, right? So you're going to have a lot of millage left. So even after 20 years, you're going to only have to come back and replace the millage you lost. Where if you put a single ply roof on there, you got to replace the whole thing, because that's the difference between the fluid applied and then a membrane that's manufactured in the facility. Right? Maintainable, restorable, sustainable. It's virtually perpetually restorable when you use a fluid applied. You can come back multiple times and restore it. It'll last longer than the building. That's where the technology is at. Next, please. So why Tremco, right? I mean, why you, Todd? There's a lot of other people out there that can do what you do. Again, it's cost effectiveness. We can deliver specs. We deliver, obviously, all the evals, the visual and the diagnostics. We can help bring the right contractors to the table. All right. We work with all the ones in the area: Gluth, Avila, Corellis, Ross. Ross did one of your roofs here as well. But we also work with some non-union too, so we're open to that as well. Our job is to have those contract relationships. But also there's some circumstances where we can self-perform and turnkey it. But that's not usually typical in the public sector though. But and we also provide full job site inspection. Because who holds a warranty after the first 2 years? We do. All right, we're different than most manufacturers. They don't come in and do these type of things because we hold a warranty. So when you have an issue, you're not calling the contractor, you're calling me. And our WTI team comes out and services the warranty at our cost. We're not into voiding warranties. We're into keeping warranties. We want the long-term relationship. We work with Miracle Schools, Crown Point Schools, Duneland Schools in this area, and plenty of others as well. Plymouth Schools, we're doing projects right now as we speak. So we got a lot of background as well if you need that in this northern Indiana, northwest Indiana as well. The big key is no finger point, right? We want one hand to shake. Sometimes the clients will say one throat to choke, but we like the one hand to shake a little bit better. And that's what we want. We don't want to have to rely on contractors on the ground, which in some cases they have great relationship with the contractor and they prefer that, and we're okay with that. But we hear always the horror stories. Well, he didn't tell me it was under warranty, or he said that didn't fit, it wasn't covered underneath the warranty. Been with Tremco for 3 years now. Haven't heard that one time. And you met Buddy, our project manager, Buddy Riffle, who's on a mission walk and works for our team here in Indiana. He worked for corporate. We stole him. He was on the project manager on the Ford field. He works for us here in Indiana. So if ever our company would ever say, no, that doesn't fit the warranty, Buddy, let's go take care of it. All right, so that's the value that we have as well. We have a backup plan where contractors don't have that. If they say they can't do it, they don't have anybody else to do it, go to the next contractor. So there's a lot of value in what we bring to the table because it's about you, it's not about the contractor. So we're an advocate for you. And a lot of what we do is at our cost, except scans, right? Scans are on the front end, definitely diagnostics. We have to make sure we charge. So that's all I have. Hopefully I gave you guys a good vivid glimpse of where you're at. There's no 5-alarm fire going off here. You guys are pretty tight on your roofing, but I think sooner rather than later we need to start looking at replacing some of these roofs slowly but surely. Because I think you guys are on borrowed time on that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. If you think of questions, have anything, Todd's real quick responding to me, so we can maintain a quick dialogue on any questions you have.
If I could ask a fast one, are you seeing it right now with everything, with construction, any supply chain issues right now as far as how things are out? I mean, are things, prices inflated, and is there a larger lead time on any kind of construction that you're seeing?
100%, absolutely. Yeah, it's the same everywhere, right? Absolutely. There's, the one great thing we were, our company was about ready to put surcharges on things, and we knew as sales guys, being a sales rep, that we were gonna have to eat some of that as well, right? As far as not just passing that on to the client. That was gonna kick in here April 15th, but they nixed it. Our fiscal year matches the school's fiscal years, meaning ours will turn into June, right? It'll be the next fiscal year. And usually at that time, we'll have some price increases as well. But yeah, across the board, we'll see that. And it's impacting us at lead times.
Yeah.
Instead of 2 to 3 weeks, we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks now on products at some point. So no, absolutely, it's affecting us.
In the last 2 or 3 years are more of an anomaly, well, at least hopefully, I don't know what it looks like, of course, in the future, but what are you seeing on a traditional basis, like what kind of increases that you would see?
On an annual basis for us, it's usually about a 3 to 5.
3 to 5%?
3 to 5 typically, like normal across the board. Usually more 3 to 4. Companies thriving right now. RPM, we're growing, so it's, but they're always pushing, right? We say that, but they're always pushing for more, right?
And pardon my ignorance on the warranty, but like, I know when you buy your shingles, there's lifetime warranties, but then you get the year 10 on a 20-year shingle, and they replace, 50%, whatever the numbers are. How does your warranty, if it's 20 years, it's 20 years? And
20 years is 20 years.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Unless you have client neglect, and that's a conversation. That's the difference, right? We're like a Carlisle's not here talking to you guys, right? Not knocking Carlisle, they just have a different model. Where we're gonna be here, and we're not gonna do new roofs, and we get this all roofed out. I'm not walking away and saying, oh, they're all roofed out. It's that relationship that we like, that we want to make sure that we create. And me being at Crown Point, our project manager, Mishawaka, it's about that relationship, which is different than most manufacturers.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yes, thank you, appreciate it, guys.
We have one item remaining before the principal reports. Summer school, we presented last month generally about our plan. So you've had some information through emails from me in regards to that. But I'm looking for approval for our plan, and basically you'd be approving that we are offering summer school at all levels. Definitely a 3-week program in the month of June, which would include transportation. We are still, at that point, we would reassess to see if a July session or an early August jumpstart session is warranted, if it's something we deem beneficial. That would be on the table too. The nice thing for this offering, again, with the CARES Act money, or the ESSER money that you've heard a lot about, coupled with still the usual summer school reimbursement, which the state tends to fund that somewhere typically between 50% up to 80% of costs get reimbursed. So we're fully covered without any of that money coming out of our education fund. And that way we can provide a really good experience for our kids and try to regain some of that lost learning that everybody's finding a way to attack.
Make a motion to approve the summer school plan.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you very much. And the principal reports.
I'll start for here at Wanatah. I want to welcome Coach Crowcroft to the team again. Appreciate you being there. Looking forward to the great things you're going to do. Excited about that. Last month, we got our scores in since our last board meeting, I should say, since the iRead scores came in. We have some great news to share about. We had 4 perfect scores from students in 3rd grade with that, and 2 more near perfect scores. So we'd like to invite those families to the board meeting next month. But I wanted to share that great news about. Despite this school year, we still had a high percentage of our kids in the 3rd grade do really well. With that being said, we have a big iLearn test week coming up here. We're kicking off our iLearn here in grades 3 through 8. And pretty anxious about that, but I know we did a great job this school year with our students here. So we're taking that task on next week. And that'll go into the early weeks of May as well. So we're still providing the after-school track events that are going on and trying to provide as much normal as we can. Today we had Earth Day and celebrated that here at the school, both at the elementaries with project-based, and then now going outside and actually cleaning up some of just the school property, so we didn't have to go get field trip forms and all of that. But we had a group of student council students go outside and just pick up some things around the school cleaning up. So celebrate Earth Day. We have progress reports coming up next week as well, so halfway through the last quarter of the year. And excited about our summer school plan. Thank you for the approval on that. Yes, providing K through 8 extension of the school year. Those conversations were really well once we started extending those. The opportunity to the families that we do have an additional 3 weeks of learning with our a platform for K through 8 to receive an extension of the momentum that we built and is going right now with the school year almost feeling normal. So, but looking to end the year strong. We have a big task here, but that's on our plate for now.
I'll just start off. We've had a great start to our spring athletics. I think there's a lot of momentum going on with softball. The baseball team's off to a great start. Our boys golf team went to the Hobart Ricky Invitational and won it, and that's with 11 teams there. So they're off to a great start. The kids are really buying into what our coaches are doing right now. So there's just a different buzz in the building right now, it feels like, with everything going on and a lot of positives going on. Even with the track teams, they might be a little bit small, but the kids are really enjoying it. So that definitely helps. The high school kids, once they get back from spring break, they're really counting down the days, so it's good to have something like that going on. Last night we had our incoming freshman orientation. Mrs. Kramer did a great job of explaining graduation pathways and graduation requirements. Usually we would have the 8th graders come down and team up with a upperclassman and follow them around for a day. With COVID, we weren't able to do that, so we're looking at beginning of next year, before we have that first day of school, bringing the freshmen in for 3 or 4 hours, going through a typical day, making sure they know where everything is located, and having our student council there to help them out. Our academic and Super Bowl teams competed Tuesday night. It was done virtually this year, and so each team just kind of went through. And we should know, it should have been later today or tomorrow, so find out if any of the teams made it to state. But I know in the first competition, our math team got 23 out of 25 questions right. And that was all the 8 PCC teams there, and we got 4th. So a lot of good scores. And then, I'm drawing a blank right now. We did have one team place first. I can't remember which one it is right now. So, and then, I'm excited about what we're doing with summer school, like Chris said. But I just want to give a shout out to one person that's, at the end of the 9 weeks, we had a lot of kids that were just struggling in classes and were possibility of failing the classes. And Becky Rhodes just jumped in, and her demeanor with kids, she just can get to kids and get to them to buy into what she wants them to do. And so she was pulling kids during our SRT time and just getting them to do extra work, getting them caught up. And so we saw a lot of kids pass classes that were struggling, and the teachers as well. But Becky was really the spearhead of it, and grabbing those kids in the hallways and saying, hey, get in my room, we're going to work on something. So I just want to give a shout out to her because she's just done a great job this year of trying to push our kids. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you both.
And she is absolutely amazing.
That's the 5 reports. Do I have a motion by the board for approval?
Make a motion to approve the SA5 reports?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
I've got just 2 things real quick to add in as far as upcoming dates. From the transportation world, we've got our bus inspection scheduled for May 4th. We will again get all of our fleet out to Gunners, and where the state police will meet us there and go through all of our buses, and hoping for another 100% passing rate on that. Gunners does an excellent job servicing our fleet, so I'm real pleased with what they provide us. Other than that, I would again point out, favorable to Mr. Prokop, but in general, I want you to know that what Brian put together as far as the interest we had for the open position was on par with a pool of candidates that anybody else might expect to have. So I think that's worth noting that we're not less than, we're not also ran when it comes to filling positions. We can attract quality too. So Brian and I were really pleased with the people we got to talk to, and obviously very pleased with Mr. Prokop there. So once we're ready to adjourn, do a little visiting there, and so, Mr. Rust?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for everyone's attendance.
About this way. Yeah, about